through the auricle, which is the flap on the outside of the atrium, and now you can look into the atrium. You can see the tricuspid valve. This will open up into the right ventricle down in here. And you can see the strings, or the chordae tendineae, that anchor the AV valves in place. So these two valves, the bi and tricuspid, are the atrioventricular or AV valves. The other two valves that you're going to see are the semilunar valves. And there's two of them, too. The one semilunar valve opens out from the left-hand side. And this is the semilunar valve. They both have three flaps, and they're both smaller than the AV valves. So this semilunar valve happens to be the aortic semilunar valve because it's going to allow the left side of the heart to empty up here into the aorta. So this guards the entrance to the aorta. And once all the blood has been pumped out of the heart into the aorta, the valve will close and it will keep that blood from backtracking into the ventricle again. So you just want the blood to keep on moving in one direction. You've got the same thing on the other side. On the right side, this right ventricle will open up into the pulmonary trunk or the pulmonary arteries. And so there's another valve that's supposed to be right here that's actually still stuck to this part of the model. And you can again see it's a three-flap valve. So this is the pulmonary semilunar valve up here. And this will guard the entrance to the pulmonary trunk and the pulmonary arteries. So going into the right side of the heart, these two vessels are the vena cavas. These are the major veins of the body. So superior vena cava up the top, you've got inferior vena cava in the bottom. They're both going to empty into the right atrium. And then this blood that's traveling through the vena cava is oxygen poor, coming back from the body. The heart will then take that blood and then pump it into the lungs through the pulmonary trunk. The lungs will reoxygenate the blood, and then the lungs will send the blood back to the heart through the pulmonary veins right here. And you see there's actually two sets of pulmonary veins, but the other set are still stuck to the other part of the model. So here's one set of pulmonary veins taking the blood back to the left side of the heart. Then once this oxygenated blood is in the left side of the heart will pump it into the aorta, and you can see the aortic arch. Here, if you put this together, you can see where the aorta becomes the aortic arch, and then the aortic arch will turn into the descending aorta. And this descending aorta will go all the way down the body till about the mid-trunk level, and that will turn into the abdominal aorta. So all the blood that supplies the body comes off of this aorta. So this is the biggest artery in the body. Vena cava is the biggest vein in the body. So those are the two noteworthy vessels that you see. This heart here really comes apart very nicely, and this heart has a thymus that's stuck to it. So this is supposed to be the thymus, and when you pull that off, that's really not part of the circulatory system, but they're just showing you where the thymus is located. If you can open up this heart, again, what you can do with this heart is you can open up the two ventricles, first of all, and you can very nicely see into the two ventricles, and you see the thicker wall here. So here's my left ventricle. The thinner wall here is my right ventricle, and now you can really see the valves, the chordae tendineae, very nicely, the heart strings that are going to anchor the AV valves in place. And the nice thing about this model is the top of the model comes off, and now you can see all the valves in here. There's two AV valves. These are the bigger of the valves. There's two semilunar valves. So one pulmonary semilunar, one aortic semilunar. And this looking right down into the valve. So now you can see that these valves are one-way valves and that they will only allow blood to go in one direction. If you take off the auricles that cover the atria, then you can see inside of the atria. So if you put this back together, which is sometimes difficult to do, you can see that here we go. Now what I've done is I've opened up my atria. So you can see the right atria here, you can see the left atria up here, and when you look into the atria, you can really see into the valves very nicely. So This is the bicuspid valve on the left-hand side. This is tricuspid on the right-hand side. Bicuspid valve is also called the mitral valve. Mitral meaning two flaps. And so you can say either mitral valve or bicuspid valve. And you have the same vessels on this model too, only they're a little bit more elaborate. So here, coming out of the right side, you've got the pulmonary trunk, which branches into the two pulmonary arteries going to each lung. Here, you've got the pulmonary veins, two sets of pulmonary veins coming back to the left side of the heart, bringing the oxygenated blood back. And then you have the aorta here, the beginning of the aortic arch, and then you've got the carotid artery going up into the head. You've got the brachiocephalic artery then going and supplying the top or upper part of the body. So this is nice because it really gives you a really nice view of all the valves in the heart. I do have pictures of this, but they're not on Blackboard yet. But I will have them on Blackboard very shortly. So keep an eye out for those, and when I put them up, I'll let you know when they go up there. There is one other model too. This model is found in all the little torso guys that are hanging around. And this is a nice model because when it comes apart, you can, again, see the valves inside very nicely. You can see both the pulmonary valve here, and if you peek way up inside of here, you can see the aortic semilunar valve, so it kind of gives you an idea of where these valves are located. And then you can see the two AV valves, and again, the heartstrings or the chordae tendineae holding them in place. So in this particular model, this is the left side of the heart with the thicker wall. This is the right side of the heart. And you can see the vessel